Okay, so we're going to go ahead and solve the problem involving fractions and mixed numbers. I'm going to start from scratch, so let me go ahead and read it from the word problem. It says, Howard put a rectangular pool in his backyard. The backyard measures 45.5 feet by 20 feet. So I'm going to start off by drawing a backyard, so let me do that. Let's see. So this is 45.5 feet. That's the length. Oops, can you see that? And this side is 20 feet. Alright, so that's the backyard. Now it says, let's see. It says, so he wants to put a pool, a swimming pool in his backyard. So let me go ahead and draw a rectangular swimming pool in there. We don't know the dimensions yet, but let's go ahead and draw it there. Okay. So the next thing it says is that Howard wants a grass area 5 feet wide around the entire perimeter of the swimming pool. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw that. So what this means is that the distance from the edge of the swimming pool to the backyard, the edge of the backyard, is 5 feet. And this is for all sides. So from here to here it's 5 feet. And then from here to here it's 5 feet. And from here to here it's 5 feet. Alright, so 5 feet from the edge of the swimming pool to the edge of the backyard on all sides. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to actually figure out what the dimensions are of the swimming pool. So to make this very simple, I'm going to draw the swimming pool again over here on the side, and I will draw the dimensions. So let's figure that out. So think about it like this. Let's find the width of the swimming pool first. So let's find this part right here. So from this side of the backyard to the other side, it's 20 feet. And from this part of the swimming pool all the way to the edge where the backyard is 5 feet, and the same is true on the other side. From here to the edge, it's 5 feet. So if you think about it, 5 plus whatever the width of the swimming pool is plus 5 should be 20 feet. So all we need to do is just subtract. So 20 feet represents the width of the entire backyard, and we're going to subtract 10 because that represents the part that the grass takes up, and then that will give us the width of the swimming pool. So that's simple enough. That's 10 feet. So I'm going to write that over here. This is 10 feet. Okay, now let's find the length of the swimming pool. So the procedure is the same, except now we're looking at the length. So we have 5 from this side of the pool to the edge, it's 5 feet. From this side to the edge, it's 5 feet right here. So that's again 10 feet of grass. And then the entire backyard, the length of the entire backyard, is 45.5 feet. So we're just going to solve this little equation. Well, not solve the equation, we're just going to simplify this right here. So we have 45.5 minus 10. That's all we're doing. So you could do this different ways. I personally like using fractions. So I'm going to go ahead and convert this into a fraction and convert this into a fraction. And then I will proceed with the problem. I just like using fractions, so it's good practice because fractions are important in algebra and algebra 2 as well. So let's do that. So remember to convert to a fraction. You multiply this number by the number right here. So 2 times 45 is 90, and then you add 1, so you get 91, divided by 2, so you keep the denominator there. So 91 over 2. Okay. And then I'm going to bring down the minus sign, and I want to write 10 with a denominator of 2. So remember that 10 is the same thing as 10 over 1. And you multiply the bottom part by 2, so therefore you multiply the top by 2. So I end up with 20 over 2. And now I have two fractions that have the common denominator. So then I just subtract the numbers and then write what I have. So this is 91, and we're doing 91 over 2 minus 20 over 2. So we get 71 over 2. There you go. So I just wrote that there. Now if you want, you can convert this into a mixed number if you want. I personally like using fractions. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this as a fraction because it's just I like fractions. That's my personal preference. So here we have 71 over 2. I'm going to write it over here. 71 over 2. So now we have the length of the swimming pool and the width. So the width is 10, the length is 71 over 2. So we know the dimensions. Okay, so now what does letter A say in the word problem? It says Howard wants to put a fence around the yard. How many feet of fencing supplies does he need to buy? So here it says that he wants to put a fence around the whole entire backyard. So what do we do here? Well, remember, fencing represents perimeter, right? So we're putting a fence around the backyard. So that's the perimeter. So for perimeter, we just add this side plus this side plus this side plus that side, and we get our answer. So I can do that part over here. So let me do that part over here. So we have 20 plus 20 plus 45 and 1/2 plus 45 and 1/2. We can do that real quick, and that will give us the answer for letter A. So what's 20 plus 20? That gives us 40. And then 45.5 plus 45.5. Well, what is that? 45 plus 45 gives us 90. And then 1/2 plus 1/2 is 2 over 2, which is 1. So we get 91. So 40 plus 91. Then all we do is just add that, and we get our final answer. So what does this give us? Well, this is 91. If you add 10 from the 40, you get 101. And then you just add 30 to that, so 131. There you go. And 131 represents, so I'm going to put here 131 feet. We have our units in feet. 131 represents how much fencing Howard needs to put around his backyard. We just added it up. That's all we did. Okay, so let's look at letter B. Letter B says, how much will it cost to put a row of tile around the edge of the pool if the tile costs $3.25 per linear foot? Okay, so let's do that. So we already know the dimensions of the swimming pool. We have the length, which is 71 over 2 feet. Let me write the units, it's important. Feet. And then over here we have 10 feet. So yeah, we got that. Now this is asking for tile around the swimming pool. So really the problem is the same as the one we did over here. We're just finding the perimeter, but now we're using different numbers. So let's go ahead and do that. So what's the perimeter? Well, we just add up all the sides, so what do we get? We get 71 over 2 plus 71 over 2 plus 10, plus 10 plus 10. So this part right here gives us 20, and then what's 71 over 2 plus 71 over 2. Well, that's 142 over 2. So let me write that there. And what is 142 over 2? Does that simplify? Oh, by the way, let me bring down this little plus sign right here so we don't get confused. Anyway, going back to this, what's 142 divided by 2? What is that? 71. So we have 71 plus 20, and what does that give us? I'm just bringing this down, and we get 91 right here. Okay, so we did it. So this is 91. 91 represents the, so remember, he needs tile, right? That's what it said. So it represents how much tile he needs around the swimming pool. So he needs 91 feet. Now, he needs 91 feet of tile. I'm going to write this, actually I'm going to write it down over here. He needs 91 feet of tile. That's how much he needs. The problem actually asks, how much will it cost to put tile around the edge of the pool if it costs $3.25 per linear foot? So we know how much tile he needs. He needs 91 feet. But it's asking us how much is it going to cost, and each foot of the tile is $3.25. So actually all we need to do here is multiply. So $3, oops, let me write this real quick. $3.25 times 91. That's all we need to do. Okay, so you can multiply this any way you want. For the sake of practice, I'm going to go ahead and use fractions again, just for the sake of practice. So I'm going to convert this mixed number into a fraction. 4 times 3 is 12, 12 plus 1 is 13, so this is 13 over 4. And then times, now 91, it's written over 1, and we need to write it with a 4 in the denominator, because in order to add to, oh, actually no, we're done. I'm sorry, I made a huge mistake. We're multiplying it, so we don't need a common denominator. Sorry about that. I thought we were adding. It's a little bit late, so here we're multiplying two fractions, so all we do is multiply across. So 13 times 91, and then 4 times 1. So here I get, let me do this in the calculator. Get 1,183 divided by 4, and let's see if I can divide this. 1,183 divided by 4. Okay, that gives us $295 point, can you see that? 75. So another way of writing this using mixed numbers is 295 and 3 over 4, because 3 over 4 is 0.75. So that's all I'm doing. I'm writing this as a mixed number. And so this is a cost of the tile. So we actually found the answer for letter B. That's the answer for letter B. Cost of the tile, 295 and 3/4. There's our tile. And we already got the answer to letter A, which is over here, 131 feet. Now we still need letter C. And it says, how much will it cost to put in the grass around the pool if it's $2 a square foot? Okay, so let's go back to the little picture that we have. Okay, so we want to know how much it's going to cost to buy all of the grass here if it's $2 per square foot. So we essentially need to know the area of just the part that has grass. We need to know the area. In order to do that, all we need to do is get the area of the entire backyard and subtract it by the area of the swimming pool. So think about it like these are two different shapes. We have a big rectangle and a little rectangle. Think about it like this. You take the area of the big rectangle and then you get the area of the little rectangle and you subtract them. It's like taking the little rectangle out of the big rectangle. And what we're left with is the area of just the grass that's around the little rectangle, which is the swimming pool. So that's how we're going to find the area of the grass around it. We get the area of the big rectangle, subtract it by the area of the little rectangle, and that will give us the area of the grass. And then we just multiply by 2, and that will give us the cost per foot. So let's go ahead and do that. So what's the area of the big rectangle? Let's do that over here on this side. Remember that for area, you're doing length times width. So 45 1/2 times 20. Let's go ahead and do this on this side. Now, like I said, there are different ways of multiplying these guys. I personally like using the fraction method, so let's go ahead and I'm going to do fraction method. So 45 1/2 times 20. What does that give us? What's the area? Well, remember that 45 1/2, you can convert this into a fraction. We do 45 times 2, and that gives us 90. And then 90 plus 1 is 91, and then we leave that over 2. So 91 over 2. And then times 20 over 1. So what does that give us? Well, I'm going to write it over here. The denominator will be 2, because 2 times 1 is 2. And then 91 times 20, you can do that off to the side. I'm going to use a calculator. 91 times 20 is 1,820. So let me write that here. 1,820. And then we can divide that. So what is the division here? 910. So we can simplify this, and we get 910 square feet. Okay. So now remember that this is 910 square feet. The problem, well, actually we still, okay, well, this is 910 square feet of the big rectangle. Remember that in the problem we want to find the square feet of the grass itself. So we need to take the area of the big rectangle and subtract it from the little rectangle. So we already have the big rectangle here, 910 square feet. Now we need the little rectangle, swimming pool. So let's go ahead and do that. Area is length times width, so we're just going to multiply that. I'm going to do that over here. So we have 71 over 2 times 10 over 1. And what does that give us? Well, let's see. 71 times 10 is 710. 710 over 2, and then this divides and we get 355. Okay, so 355 is the area of the little rectangle. So I'm going to underline them so we know what numbers we're using. 910, area of the big rectangle. 355, area of the little rectangle. Now the last step is to subtract. Well, not the last step, the next step. So 910 minus 355 gives us, what does it give us? 910 minus 355. Oh, nice, it gives us 555. So 555. Now, what does 555 represent? 555 square feet. 555 represents the area, like I've said this many times already, but it's very important. 555 represents the area of just the grass. So just, you know, the part around the swimming pool, the grass. And the problem is saying that it wants to know the cost, the total cost if if it costs $2 a square foot. So each square foot is $2. So $2 per square foot. And we have 555. So we need to multiply that. 555 times 2. And that gives us $1,110. 1,110. And there you go. 1,110 is the cost in dollars. So we're done. That's letter C. And I think that was it, right? There's nothing else in the problem. Yeah, we're done. So we got all three answers. Letter A, letter B, and letter C.